that subject. Second thing is, why did you choose the angles on the pyramid which are inaccurate on the front of your book?
I'm sorry?
On the front of your book.
Yeah.
Why did you choose those particular angles? It's not, it's not the angles of the pyramid.
These angles?
Yeah.
Well, actually, this is a what they call an artist rendition.
I understand that, but you seem to be a scientist, so why did you allow it to happen? I don't understand that.
Well, okay. Yeah. Okay. What you're looking at here is the rotated pyramid. So the angles are not going to be 51 degrees, 52 minutes.
But it's possible to draw it three-dimensionally with the correct angle.
Yeah.
And I know that people in their traditions, why didn't they do that? That seems to me to kind of be a disservice.
They're not as precise as you are.
No, well, no, and I could share with you some of the conversations that was going on between me and the publisher at the time this was taking place. But it's pointless to do so. I mean, it exists. They wanted that cover. They put it on their book. They invested the money in it, and basically, you know, the reality of the publishing business is that when it comes to marketing and when it comes to cover design, the author really doesn't know what he's talking about.
Unless you publish, would Adventures Unlimited, where you have
Adventures
control.
Unlimited. But this was with Bear and Company, and Inner Traditions, I think, will be a little more amenable to input. And I did have input on that, but it's very difficult to convey to an artist technical terms, you know?
Just to relay confirmation for you, I went to Egypt in 1975 with Joe Jockman before your time, and they played Paul Horns in the Great Pyramid, and there was a chap there who was really lovely, our guy, about 45 years old, and he immediately said it was being played actually at dinner time, and he said, "This is the music that I hear when I go in the Great Pyramid," and so he confirmed Paul Horns' music, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. But
Okay, what do you have to say about the notions that first of all, I think it's absolutely incorrect to perpetuate the naming of a king's chamber. But what do you think about...
I'm sorry,
to call it a king's chamber, there was never anybody built in it.
Oh, yeah.
Buried in it. So to call it a king or a queen's chamber is idiocy, in my opinion. And what do you think about the notion that the coffer was not originally positioned in the position it is now?
That's correct.
Actually, when the way I draw it in my book, I draw it in a different position.
And why do you do that?
I actually speculated that it was a crystal amplifier for the microwaves, and I put it between the shafts.
Actually, if I can interject, when Petrie investigated in the Great Pyramid in 1888, he actually found that the coffer is not in its original position, that it had been moved, and it probably was in between the shafts,
Right.
which fits more into Chris's theory. So it has been moved.
And do you know why they say that it was in a different position?
It's more works it as a
Well,
resonator.
actually, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why they moved it, or even if I am correct that it was between the shafts.
If you give me your email address, I'll send you a really interesting essay on that.
Okay, good.
About its possible previous position and the function of that position.
What was the position? Could you share that with us?
Now you have to see it in the essays.
Okay. All right, good.
Website information again? Your website or?
Oh, yeah, www.gizapower.com. Yes, ma'am.
I come from the island of Guam, largest of America's islands, and we have what they call the limestone. They're huge.
Yeah.
The belief is that they were built by giants. There's a lot of different stories, but the Chamorros, the indigenous people, limestone are always lined up in parallels of 6 rows or 9, 6 to 9 per row. And a lot of people believe portals, electromagnetic fields, and that they were communication routes. But the belief of the natives is that everything was done with the mind. And I'm just curious. You know, you're saying that you believe some of these things were done with machines, and as far as, I don't know about the cutting of them, but the movement, moving on islanders, at least in the Micronesia region, if you talk to any of them, if they're willing to share that information with you, will tell you that the ancients did everything with the mind. So I was just curious what your...
I mean, I hear speculation on that. I don't believe it. Because I think we're working in.
Because what I find strange is that there's always talk about the pyramids and Stonehenge and rock formation, but no one ever talks about the Latte stones, and they're only indigenous to the Marianas Islands, and we're talking huge.
Yeah.
I mean, they should be right up there with rock formations of Stonehenge. And it's very curious how there's a certain way that they're always built. They're always lined up like a runway. And they've been associated with electromagnetic fields and communications, and yet no one, I've been to different conferences and nobody ever talks about it. It's just kind of curious.
Do you have any photographs of them you could bring tomorrow?
The exact shape, the best comparison is the chalice of Jesus Christ.
What does that mean?
That it's like a cup sitting on a base stem. Just exact same shape, only huge. I mean, why is not, I don't know, for me, why
It
is that
bothers me
not,
especially the chalice of Jesus Christ.
well, I
It's
mean,
not
that's
anything I know
that's the only way I can
great deal
describe
about.
it.
There's no
I mean,
such
that's the
thing.
closest thing in terms of what people here would associate it with, because I don't know how to describe it in scientific.
Yeah, I know.
It's a limestone, but I'm just saying that's what it
If you have a photograph that
looks
you
like.
could bring tomorrow so we can see it.
Actually, David, I think, has it in his Lost Civilization of Moon, the lost city of Boomerang. Latte stones are in there. It's on the table.
Right. Any other questions for me? I mean, on that point, I would like to make one comment, and that is the one term Deus ex machina, where the hand of God. Humanity has always looked at nature and without any understanding of science, have credited the hand of God with creation, and I think a lot of that happens when we become so astounded when we are faced with something that we can't explain with our current technology, our understanding of nature.
Would you say that the mind, though, is far superior to any machine? I mean,
absolutely, I would say it's much better, yeah. But our job is to work in the material world and use our mind to actually work with material things. When it comes to speculation, that the mind was actually materialized these things, I would have to see the evidence. I guess I haven't gone that far over to my right brain. I'm still too far in my left brain to really accept that. That's
why they don't talk about Latin.
and maybe that's no. I'd love to talk about it. I mean, because you've got so many other places. You've got the unfinished obelisk. I mean, they were throwing around 1,200-ton rocks in ancient times, and then we've got this fella down in Florida, this Ed Lee Scalman, who weighs about less than 100 pounds, and he's moving a 30-ton block.
What's curious is they talk about it, but not Latin stones. I mean, very
That's because we don't know about it. I mean, publish an article on it. Get some photographs out to us. That'd be great.
I'll show you.
Yeah, that'd be fabulous. It's not well known.
I wondered if you could speculate on how
I know, but I
the
think
Giza power plant series you have tie in with ley lines and that so-called mapping of the Earth's energies that John Michel wrote about
Yeah.
in England.
Well, I think yes. I mean, certainly there is a relationship. I would assert that there is a relationship with the positioning of the pyramids and Earth energies, especially around seismic areas, where they can actually gather more of those energies and relieve the stresses in the Earth's plate. The ley lines, as they play into that, yeah, they tend to work in conjunction with the alignment of other ancient sites like the Easter Island, Avebury in England, and other sites around the world.
To me, that's an interesting thing, too, of your idea of sending energy up into space where it can be redistributed to remote areas, like Easter Island, to Peru or something, because this is a worldwide network that you're talking about. I mean, once implemented, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think if we, I don't think we really know half the story. I mean, what was going on back then. You know, and I always tend to make this analogy that our